When we want to express an amount of time, we can use the duration and period classes. Duration and period are classes in the Java Date and Time API that represent length of time. Duration is typically used for amounts of time less than a day. It represents time in seconds and nanoseconds, while period is for more than a day and represents a length of time in years, months, and days. Let's have a look at how to work with the duration class in IntelliJ. Let's start off with creating a duration object in a few ways. So for example, we could create a duration called d1 with the ofNanos method. And then in there, we need to insert a long of nanos that we want the duration to be. So for example, this one. We could also create a duration of seconds. Like this. And as a second argument, we could possibly also add the nanos that we want to be added to our duration. There's actually quite some other ways to create duration. I'm just going to show them to you because this might get a bit boring. So I'm going to say durations of, and as you can see, we can go for days, hours, millis, and minutes. So if we want to create a duration of a week, we could go ahead and say duration of days and then specify 7 days, which would equal a week. All right, let's now see how to work with periods. It's actually quite similar. We can go ahead and create a period by using the of methods. So we can start with of, and then we can specify years, months, and days that it should take. So for example, like I said, it should be 10 years, 2 months, and 3 days, like this. But I also have a bunch of other options. So I could go ahead and say period, and I'm just not going to do it all again. I'm just going to show you the options we're having. So you could go of days, of months, of weeks, and of years. So there's quite some ways to create a period object, and we can then specify the number, and using the method, we will know which amount of periods we would be creating. So for example, if we would create periods of 12 weeks, I will go ahead to say of weeks and specify the number 12. Once you have a duration or period object, you can use a whole bunch of methods to access and modify the length of time. For example, we could create a new duration, d4, using our d3 object. So as you can see, we can go make it a negative amount of time, we can divide it by something, we can do minus, and then you have a whole bunch of options. Minus another duration, but also minus days, hours, millis, minutes, and more. And as you can imagine, we can also do plus whole sorts of things. So plus another duration, but also plus days, hours, millis, etc. So let's just add this other duration to it. And it's good to mind that this is not going to change the original duration. So D3 is not going to be altered, but this is going to return a new duration with the added amount to it. And likewise, we can do something similar with periods. We can go ahead and say period, and then we can add something to it. We can get a certain unit out of it. We could also get the specific unit, so either the days or the months. And please mind, this is not converting it. This is just going to give you the day part. So for example, if we grab the days of the first one, and I'm just going to print the output so you can see it. And what you might expect at this point is that it's going to convert the 10 years, 2 months, and 3 days to a total number of days, but that's not what it's doing. So I'm going to run this, and you're going to see that this is just going to print the day part. It's going to print 3 on our screen. And that is because our day part of the period P1 is 3. It has 10 years, 2 months, and 3 days. So you may wonder, then what about the weeks? Well, weeks consist of 7 days. So if I'm going to do P2 and then get weeks, it's going to be 7 times 12, and that's going to be equal to 84, as you can see in the output. So the day part here equals 84, the year part and the month part are 0. And of course, you can also do all other sorts of, you can do plus, and you can also go ahead and go minus. You can even do some divisions and some multiplications. But there's actually more to calculating with dates and times. So duration and period are just about specifying a certain amount of time, but we can actually do more when we're going to be calculating with dates and times, and that's something that we'll see in the next video, and we are going to use duration and period for that.